On today's episode, we're going to bring a little bit of luxury and deluxe to the old 30-footer. This is my custom-built 30-foot gooseneck. I built this in my own shop about 10 years ago. This is a pretty nice trailer, really, and it's hauled a lot of stuff. But one thing that would be nice is to have some powered jacks. Been wanting this for a long time, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to throw a powered jack kit onto these Bulldog tandem jacks. So as I mentioned, we got dual Bulldog 12K single speed jacks. These are simple jacks, right? And they were the standard on all your tandem dual goosenecks for years and years. They still are, really. But as time has gone on and trailers have gotten fancier and fancier, they've gotten into some power jack setups, and she's falling behind the times. So, like I said, we're going to do a little bit of an upgrade here. Now, you got three options, right? The next option is some little gearbox attachment gizmo that you put on and you put your drill on or whatever. And nothing against that setup and those guys that are trying to sell that unit, but that's not for me. I want something simple. You don't need a drill to use to be able to get your trailer hooked and unhooked. So then the third option is it's been around for a while, is the addition to the Bulldog jacks is a powered 12-volt motor that drives the shaft for you to go up and down. It's a pretty simple deal, and that's what we're going to do today. And then the bee's knees setup, the new school, is the hydraulic jacks. And hey, that's pretty cool. They're fast. That's a nice deal. They are fast. They're real powerful. The problem, though, is those kits, to go onto a trailer, if you don't already have a wet kit, it's about a $2,000 kit, give or take what kit you're buying. And you have to put on a wet kit, a 12-volt powered wet kit. And for a trailer like this, where this does not have a hydraulic beaver tail, there's no hydraulics on this trailer. All you're going to use it for is the jacks. It just really doesn't make sense to have the extra weight of the hydraulics when this trailer already has a winch. It's tucked up under here. We got a super winch, Tiger Shark winch, and a deep cycle battery. And this winch over 10 years has been used about 4 times. And I've replaced this battery. That's about the third battery it's been in this trailer, and $100 a piece. There's been $300 worth of batteries in this trailer to use that winch 4 times. Pretty efficient. Well, we're going to take advantage of having that 12-volt battery. And this all makes sense, right? We got a battery because we already have a winch on board. So we add very little weight. This kit is pretty darn light, so there's not much of a weight cost. So this really is, for this specific trailer, really the best route. So let's get to installing it. Now, here in the kit, we got the instructions. Here's our switch, circuit breaker, and the up and down rocker switch, and this is all wired up with 4 wires, so it's set up to send power in both directions. This is the cover to cover the electric motor once you're all done. This is the junction box that goes with that. This is the mount. I'll show that in a few minutes, and some hardware. And there's our motor right there. So that's the whole entire kit. I'm going to put in the description of this video the Amazon link. This is a kit I got off of Amazon. And I will give, like I said, give the link in the description of this video if you would like to purchase the same kit that you are seeing installed right now. All right, now we'll get this cover off. This grease out of the way. Okay. There we go. Get the pin out. Then okay, there's the shaft. And that matches the shaft on the new unit, on the powered unit. So we're gonna go ahead and slide this in. Test fit it. Okay, there we go. Okay. Now we need to put this bushing in. This guy goes in here. Now this is what you got to weld on. So yeah, just like that. Keep getting grease all over me. Make sure this thing is straight. There we go. That's about where it wants to be. I'm gonna mark this. Okay, there we go. A red paint pen on a red trailer. That makes sense, huh? Ow. That's hot. And we'll take and clean this paint up real quick, and we got to change out these grease fittings to some 90 degrees because obviously that's just not going to work out for us. Okay, 2 new grease zerks, 90 degree. And a little bit of red paint. Seal that back up. And there we go. Now, I just slide my pipe on over on this side. Okay. All right, we got our cover on. It's just 2 bolts here. It's pretty simple. We got access to our grease zerks right there. I may actually take and cut this just a little bit to give a little bit more clearance. That I think I can access. We got our cover back on. That pin, it got turned into be a little bit of a booger, but we got it. So then over here on this side, we got our bolt back in. We're connected to the tandem jacks. Now, like I said, I built this trailer, so this is all, you'll notice that the directions tell you to take and put the motor like right here on the other side of the jack, and then to drive the second jack from this shaft right here. But this shaft is the same shaft that goes all the way through that's right here. So I'm not too sure why they recommend that it needs to be that way. That is one solid shaft. I guarantee you right here in this little tiny gearbox, there's a little gear that's on that shaft. So I personally do not see the issue with me having to mount it over here on the outside, because you can go both ways. It says that you can mount it on both sides of the jack depending on if you have any kind of clearance issue on this side. That's not a problem. So the only thing is saying if you need to run a second jack is to run it off that side of the shaft. I don't know. That's how I did it. When I built this trailer, you can see how I did this. I welded these jacks on the outside, drilled a hole through the neck. Again, back to the last part of the installation regarding the hardware. That's why this is all set up this way. So now on wiring, they give you a junction box to wire everything up. Now, that's convenient if you need to bring power wires in, or depending on what you're set up, that kind of give. Junction boxes are great. I mean, this trailer already has up underneath behind this battery on the inside of the frame a very nice junction box full of all the wiring. When I put this together, everything comes into that main junction box back there. So I didn't really feel like it benefited me in other ways And this is a pretty simple setup. Okay, so what I did, I bypassed the junction box. Now, we're coming from, here's our box right here. And yes, we're gonna try it in just a second. Okay, all the magic for the polarity swapping to go up and down, because you know, positive and negative gets reversed. That's how you go up or down. That's all done inside this box. So the wiring is pretty simple. We've got ground and hot going over to the box, hot, ground, coming off your battery. And then you just got the 2 wires that come over here. I left this undone. You got your green and your white. And then coming from the motor, you got black and white. White goes to white, black goes to green. Now that I showed that, I can go ahead and wrap this all up. We'll finish this off, tape that up. That's it. And then, like I said, the polarity switching happens inside of this box to change the green and the white to make it go up or down. All right, so let's give this thing a try. There we go. Okay, now downward. Down we go. Okay. So there we go. That took me about 2 hours. Said and done. I had to fight that pin. These jacks, I think, actually are not Bulldog. They might be knockoff, and there was not the spring mechanism. That roll pin was a little bit tough. That gave me a little bit of a challenge, but we got it all put back together. And like I said, this is a pretty simple setup, and we'll see how it does lifting up some weight. We're gonna go ahead and load a tractor on this and weight her down, and we're gonna put these jacks on the scale and just see how it does loaded up with some weight. But all in all, yes, this is not the fastest setup in the whole world. It moves about 3 inches in 60 seconds. But you know what? That's about the same of hand jacking it, and it saves energy, it saves the back, it saves the arms, and I'm looking forward to having power jacks. Pretty sweet deal. Like I said, the link to this exact kit from the exact seller that I purchased it from is in the description of this video. When this video was made, it is priced right about 400 bucks. Not a bad deal. Like I said, way cheaper than going with a hydraulic jacks with a wet kit and all that. I just don't see the benefit, the cost versus benefit. Your $2,000 on your hydraulic jacks for a wet kit, that's all you need it for. Sure, if you got a hydraulic dovetail, now that's a different story. You already have a wet kit on, and it just starts making more sense, right? Just as I said, it made more sense to put this in because I've got a 12-volt accessory, a winch, and we've got a 12-volt accessory to jack our jacks powered up and down. It just makes sense, right? We get a lot more use out of having that battery right there. So, like I said, this job's pretty much wrapped up. Let's go give this sucker a test. All right, let's put a little bit of weight on these jacks and see how they do with a bit of a load under them. Now, my truck weighs about 11,000. My trailer weighs about 7,000. And I think this tractor's about 10. So that's 17. It's about 28,000. So it's not a heavy load by some guys' standards, and it's probably a little bit on the heavy side for some guys' standards. So, but it's a decent little test here. We're going to pull on the scale. We're going to weigh the whole truck. Then we're going to pull forward and weigh just the trailer axles. Then we'll put the landing legs down and lift the trailer off the gooseneck ball of the truck with the truck off the scale, but the jack's still on the scale, and that will give us the numbers that we're looking for. So let's go run in the scale house and grab our numbers. All right, now as you can see, the truck is just off the scale, but the landing legs are still on the scale. So Let's go ahead and disconnect the coupler, and we'll drop these legs and start putting all the weight of the trailer on the scale and get it off of the truck. Okay. There we go. It's quiet. I will say that. I took my little extension for the hand crank out that I had right there because that thing is wanting to clank around a little bit. Now, yeah, it's pretty quiet. And I did something already I probably shouldn't have. Hooking up to the trailer a few minutes ago. Stuck my pocket knife in here. In fact, you can't get in a hurry, okay? You can't get in a hurry, but that's all right. Oh, here we go. We made touchdown. It's loading up a little bit. Let's get in here. Okay. Well, we're off the ball, so I mean now we're just playing with it because all the weight's off the truck. She's going. All right, I'm gonna call it right there. We'll go ahead and get hooked back up. You know, for 400 bucks, not bad. We got about, what, about 4,100 pounds of pin weight on those jacks. It's rated for 7,500. She loaded down pretty good. I don't know. You know, could sit here for all afternoon and move this tractor back and forth and play with it. But, you know, 4,100 pounds, that's pretty typical. To have a lot more than that on this trailer and need to unhook, probably not likely or hardly ever. So that's a pretty good real world test right there, 4,100 pounds of, you know, maybe having to disconnect. Because usually when I hook and unhook, I'm unloaded anyway. But, like I say, for 400 bucks, as long as that motor holds up over time for lots of duty cycles, I would say it's money well spent. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Tell me what you think. If you used one of these, give me your experience. See you on the next one. You didn't think I was actually going to let that fly, did you? Yeah, that's about right. Now we got this job done. And that's a wrap. She's doing it.